Hey everyone, it's Algranath here from The Right Way. Got a really interesting post by a person named Owen Jennings on Kiwi Blog. If you haven't been to Kiwi Blog before, if you're a New Zealander, it's a really good, I guess, centre-right blog. It's not far right or anything. It's certainly not left. So if you have leanings kind of the centre or the centre-right, then it's a really good blog to read. And this person here makes some really interesting points, some things that I've talked about in some of my previous videos, and I really agree with a lot of this stuff. So let's have a read about how the Labor government is wanting to control the population through fear. Great quote to start with from Edmund Burke. No passion so effectively robs the mind of all its powers of acting and reasoning as fear. For fear being an apprehension of pain or death, it operates in a manner that resembles actual pain. And this is what they want people to live in New Zealand currently. Kiwis are being robbed. Politics and the media are the accomplices. So totally true, right? The media is so much behind this because all they're looking for is headlines to grab the attention, and nothing grabs the attention like fear. They just promoted the hell out of it to get their clicks and ratings up. Do not underestimate how effective the weapon of fear is in these hands. In more normal times, this government would be struggling to register in the polls, such as the incompetence, lack of delivery and arrogance. As we all know, if you're in New Zealand, this Labor government has failed on pretty much all major things, except doing a reasonable job at the beginning of the COVID, doing lockdowns and stuff, but now it's just being incompetent all over the place. By any measure, only the most stubbornly loyal would in non-COVID times be willing to support such an utterly dismal performance, but fear robs the mind of reasoning, and of course it does, right? So all you get is the headlines these days going, oh, there's so many cases today, and look at Queensland, or sorry, not Queensland, New South Wales. They have so many thousands of cases. It's just all about fear, right? The failure of this Labor government in almost every area of its administration has no parallel in our history. Despite a 19% drop in support, Ms Ardern and her motley crew are hanging on to over 40% in the last poll. Here is why. It's the female fear vote. Research in the US by the women's-oriented group Leanin.org shows that during COVID, women are more than twice as likely as men to be experiencing physical symptoms of severe anxiety, such as racing heartbeat, 25% versus 11%. More than half, 52% of women are having sleep issues compared to about a third, 32% of men. So we'll just have to take those figures on the word for it. There's no link to the actual data or anything, but let's say that that's true. Labor is supported by 50% more women than it is men, of course, because they have a female leader of the Labor Party, Jacinda Ardern, Saint Jacinda, who is really good at speaking, really good at actually not saying anything and not speaking any truth. She obfuscates so easily. I guess her communication degree is doing her very well. But she never gives any straight answers, and you can never get anything out of her. Take away the fear factor and Labor would poll at 30% or less. The fear factor is highlighted every day. Ardern and Hipkins, Hipkins is I think one of the health ministers or something, talk big numbers, threaten lockdowns, leverage the fear factor. They have their little band of media-hungry, publicity-seeking experts to supply the bullets. Yeah, so these bloody modelers and health experts bring in the doom and gloom every single day. They're going, oh no, we're going to get so many deaths and so many cases and so many hospitalizations if we don't all get vaccinated, if we don't get into lockdown. Even just today, they've said that Auckland, our biggest city, which is currently in lockdown level 3, which is almost the strictest level, but you can actually go out and meet with another family if you're socially distanced. Still can't go shopping and stuff like we normally would do in lower levels. They want them to go back into level 4 strict lockdown because the cases are rising. But they never talk about how severe are these cases, right? These rising cases. How many of those are actually going into hospital? So we had like 72 cases today. So if, say, 60 of them were asymptomatic, no issues, that's not a problem. If another 10 were very minor issues to do with COVID, then that leaves 2 which might be kind of enough to go into a hospital. So we don't know that data. They never say that data because they know that it takes away from the fear factor that they're trying to produce, right? They just want the biggest number to get out there and then scare everyone into submission. So publicity-seeking experts to supply the bullets. Where else would nondescript modelers ever get in the news? That's right. That's one of the things. These modelers have become celebrities, and they know that once COVID becomes circulating in the community, no one's going to give a shit about what they say. No one's going to listen to them. They're going to lose their celebrity and go back to being, know-it-alls in their own head. And a compliant media with its well-greased palm faithfully headlining fearful numbers every day. So I did a video earlier where the New Zealand government is funding 110 new journalists over 2 years, right? They're actually buying journalists, right? Giving them their salary. So of course these journalists are not going to write things which are against the narrative of the government, are they? Are they going to lose their job? Here is something weird. Fear and love, the dominant emotions, are fueled by the same hormone, oxytocin. They work together well. One leader does the fear, frowny face, scary numbers, I reject, bad news, and one leader does the boyish face, the ready smile, the funny one-liners, the more positives. Now the oxytocin is flowing. These feminine instincts are alerted. Fear comes in many forms. Today, a media cartoon appears with Judith Collins pictured on the edge of a knife. It's not funny, nor is it suitable unless you want to convey something about knives and hurting people. It's the umpteenth cartoon featuring Collins negativity. So if you're not from New Zealand, Judith Collins is the leader of the opposition, and there's been a concerted campaign by the media to target her and basically try and get her eliminated from the leadership. Right, because she's a strong woman, she has strong views, and she doesn't go into all of this fear campaign that the Labour Party government is actually doing. And so, she's battling with the media, as all right-wing parties have to do these days, pretty much. Even long-standing national supporters are becoming convinced that Collins has failed and can no longer lead the party. They fear she could lose an election. Fear is robbing them of their reasoning. Watching Collins deliver National's COVID recovery plan showed a very capable, strong, focused leader, confident in her own skin, relaxed, unflustered, happy, and in control. Those who know her well are convinced she is Prime Minister material, and I absolutely agree with that. I'm a big supporter of Judith Collins in the National Party, and I think she's the right person for the job, but she's just being hatcheted by the woke left-wing media, who are completely biased against anything which is conservative. Yet somehow that fear is another term with an unbelievably incompetent lot of in control, driven by young, immature, inexperienced journos, aided by their artful editors in undermining the reasoning powers. Again, it's just targeted by these particular people. So he goes on to say, our electorate is so dumbed down, so poorly equipped to think critically and to reason strategically, that National needs to be straddling the centre. It has to package its message to attract middle New Zealand. Fear tends to be turned on its head. Fear that drives positive outcomes. Fear that low falling education results in create a bigger pool for gangs that raid your house, terrorise your street, feed your drugs to your kids. But here is a policy that halts that trend. Yep. So basically, the media never goes and publicises good policy by the opposition party because they hate their guts, the media in New Zealand. Just like the media in the US, when they were totally against Trump, even though he was doing some good things. You might not agree with everything he does or his attitude towards people and so on, but he was doing great things for the country. But anyway, so he goes on to say, lockdown can be depressing. Depression is fertile ground for fear. Fear, when there is no hope of something better emerging, drives depression even deeper. It's time for strong, positive, uplifting messages conveyed to the electorate more strategically, messages that stimulate oxytocin, especially female oxytocin. I don't really know too much about whether females are more fearful of COVID-19 or not. I don't have any evidence for that. But certainly the Labour Party is driven by the female vote, and until some of these female people wake up and to see what's happening, we're going to be stuck with them for another term, which we hopefully don't want. But what do you think? If you're living in New Zealand, do you think this is quite a valid thing about living in fear through all of the headlines and all of the doom and gloom messages from our so-called experts, air quotes? and obviously this Labour government driving fear. I think what they want to do is keep COVID going long enough so that they can get to the next election and basically get the vote again like they did the previous election. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. I think this is a really awesome article or guest post from Owen Jennings on Kiwiblog. Check it out on Kiwiblog. Lots of other good articles on there. Do you agree with what Owen Jennings is saying, what I'm thinking? If you disagree, then let me know in the comment section. Would love to have a bit of dialogue. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, you're welcome to give me a thumbs down. And if you like my content, please give me a subscription. It would just help the videos to get noticed a bit more by the YouTube algorithm. Alright, well that's it for this video. Hopefully I will catch you in the next video.